Have you ever felt stuck? Have you ever felt like your life doesn't matter? And no matter how hard you try, you can't seem to break free of those old patterns, those old habits. And so you have these big goals, you have these big plans, but you can't seem to progress and it feels almost impossible. Well, I can relate, I understand. But think of your mindset as an operating system. Think of your mindset as the operating system of the brain. And just like an operating system of a computer, if it's outdated, it's going to be a limit to what you can achieve with that operating system. So what you need to do is you need to upgrade that system. And so just like with the operating system of the computer, your life is the same way. Until you upgrade your mindset, you're not going to be able to shift. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about how do we upgrade our mindset so we can create a system for success. But before we get into that today, what we're going to talk about, I want to introduce myself. My name is Prince Williams, the real Prince Williams, and I'm the architect of transformation. I'm also the developer of the Drive Alive method. So, what I do is I teach people how to turn their pain into purpose. And so, how do I do that? I teach people how to master emotional intelligence, which sets them up for success. Now, you're probably wondering what makes me so qualified to talk about that. Well, I'll tell you, I'm big, I'm bearded, I'm bald, and I'm black. That's funny, and if you don't think it's funny, that's okay. You're probably sitting there all stuffy and you don't have a really good sense of humor and you don't know me, so we're gonna get you there. But chances are if you are looking at me right now and you didn't do anything at all, you probably made some kind of judgment about me. And that's okay. We all do it. I do it too. And I get it. I understand. I understand what it feels like not to measure up. Understand what it feels like to wonder what people are thinking about me. I also understand what it feels like to have that sneaky little thing we call imposter syndrome. And because I feel all of those things and I understand that, that's the very reason why I'm able to talk about those things. And I used to ask myself all the time, what makes you so successful? Or what makes you so special? Well, the very fact that I'm talking to you today and I am completely authentic with you right now is the reason why I'm special. I didn't always believe that. I didn't think I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I was worthy. And so I used to dim my light. Not only did I dim my light, I used to dumb down my intelligence in order to fit in. So literally, I used to make myself small in order to not stand out or make people feel some kind of way or make people feel uncomfortable. That didn't work, literally, because there's nothing small about me. So I learned a powerful lesson. Never dim your light in order to make people shine. And the lesson in that is it sets you up for you not being able to own your own story. And so it wasn't until I started to own my own story that my life began to change, it began to shift. So let me ask you a question. What was your earliest memory of your childhood? And then my next question is, when did your consciousness wake up? When were you aware of yourself and yourself in the world? Well, that's going to lead me into my next point, which is my first point, which is awareness. In order to change your mindset, you really have to become very aware of the limits that you have set for yourself. Not what somebody else has set for you, but what you are thinking. You are operating probably from fear, from scarcity, or even from self doubt. I understand. We all been there. I became increasingly aware of myself and the world around me. And when I did that, the moments of my life started to show me different challenges. And it's not so much the challenges that are the issue, it's who you become when you see those challenges. Do you shrink up and become little, or you become small, or do you become limitless in the face of some limiting beliefs? There are a bunch of messages, there's a bunch of lessons that you can take from those challenges. But what happens is we get stuck in thinking that those challenges means that we're not supposed to be there. That that means that we're doing something wrong. When really it's a shift in your perspective that's going to create the most change. Unfortunately, those challenges do shape who we become because it does stop us in our tracks a lot of times. And when we are stopped in our tracks, we tend to go on repeat. We tend to repeat certain things over and over again. I know we all experience that, where you're like, damn, like, how come I have to keep going through this? Why is this showing up the way it's showing up? Well, it's probably because you're operating in fear. It's the fear of the unknown that's really holding you back. The fear of you moving past, what would that look like if I'm no longer this person? I read this book. It's called The Tao Te Ching. Is and Lao Tzu says it best. Lao Tzu was a Chinese philosopher, and he was the founder of Taoism. And he had a very profound perspective on fear. And one of the quotes that he talked about is, "There is no illusion greater than fear." So this belief of fear, when it arises, is really a misunderstanding of reality. It's a misunderstanding of how you're viewing reality, and reality is just a mirror. So if you're continuing to go through certain things, it's really a reflection of how you're seeing life or what's inside of you. And so we have this attachment to the things that are familiar to us. But then at the same time, we have this attachment and we don't want to let go of control of what we know. And so one way to overcome the fear is to really embrace life. Let life be what it's going to be. Let things happen, let go of the resistance, and trust the natural order of things. Trust that everything eventually, if you just see it through and you just let it go, that is going to turn out better than you probably can than ever expected. And I get it. It's overwhelming at times. It can be overwhelming, but you have to grow through it to get through it, right? You can't change what you're not willing to face. And even although it might be overwhelming at first, that's okay. It's supposed to be. That's the work. It's not supposed to be easy. Work is not easy. By proxy, work is supposed to be hard. And I'm not saying that life is supposed to be hard, but the work that you need to do to change your perspective, because what's happening is you created this program and now you're living in this simulation that you built up around you. And so what needs to happen to deprogram yourself is you need to start asking yourself, what are the limiting beliefs that are holding me back? What are the stories that I'm telling myself? And when you start to ask those questions, fundamentally what happens is you start to build a self-awareness. And your self-awareness, as it grows, as your awareness grows, that's when the transformation begins. That's when you can start to own your own story. But what happens is we don't want to own our own story because we're very good at judging things outside of ourselves, but we're not very good at judging what's happening in our own life or on the inside of us. And so it's our limiting beliefs that's keeping us stuck. which leads me to my next point, which is you have to reframe those negative beliefs. You have to reframe it. You have to change how you're looking at life. And then life would change how it's given back to you. There are many obstacles that come your way that might present itself in front of you. And what we fail to do sometimes is look at those obstacles as an opportunity for growth. Well, that's the trick. We have to look at those things, those challenges that come our way as opportunities for growth. As I was developing my Drive Alive system, eh, this is my own personal story, and I'm growing through to get through it. Is I wanted to develop this system, this coaching system, become a keynote speaker, and talk on a more mass scale. But as I started to face certain challenges, I started to see the challenges and some of the personal, the shortcomings and failures that I was coming up against as the enemy. Instead of realizing that that in itself wasn't the enemy, what it was feedback. So I had to literally make the shift in my mind to say that this is showing me where I need to adjust and improve, because life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. And I'm not suggesting that it's supposed to be easy, because it's not necessarily going to be easy all the time, but it doesn't necessarily have to be hard all the time, easy either. You just have to change your perspective on life, change how you're viewing things. You have to integrate that shadow, which you have to take that shadow. What is the shadow? The shadow is the negative parts of yourself. We all like to glorify the stuff that we like to do. We like to glorify the things that make us look good. But we're not so good at looking at the things that probably are unbecoming of us, so that doesn't make us look all that great in the eyes of other people. But those are the very things that create the most change. Is when you start to look at those things, because those are the things that you can say either are my limitations, or those are the things that are going to create in me an opportunity for me to continue to work on to get better. But I can't change what I'm not willing to face. So I can't change what I'm not willing to acknowledge. So that is very much a part of me, as much as the good parts of me. Like, I know you've messed up. I messed up. We've messed up. We all messed up. We make mistakes. We have things that we're guilty about, things that we're ashamed of, that we wouldn't tell anybody. But who cares? I'm not saying that don't those things have to go away, or they didn't happen, or they're not a part of you. But what I'm saying is is don't stop giving that so much power over who you are and who you are today, who you want to be. Walk in the energy of who you see yourself as right now. And sometimes that's easier said than done, because how do we see ourselves? If we're seeing ourselves in a negative light, then why would we walk in that? But that's the very thing that people are doing. People are walking and sitting in negativity all the time, because of some of the things that they've done, or they feel like they're not worthy, or they're not deserving of it, because of some of the things that they've done. And that's the problem. You have to become aware of the limitations, but we can't stay there. If you're staying there, that's where you have this feeling of being stuck. What is the desire for you right now? What is the vision of yourself? That can't come from mommy. That can't come from friends. Can't come from outside of yourself, externally to people who don't matter. Because where did that go? Where did that get you? You're worried about everything outside of yourself, instead of worrying about the bigger part, which is you internally. Again, your life is a reflection. So how you feel on the inside The reality has to show you that on the outside. Only thing that has brought you is anxiety, yes. Frustration, yes, check. Self-esteem, your lack of self-esteem. And when you feel all of those things, that kind of lower sense of vibration, you start to overcompensate, you start to people please, you start to do things unbecoming of yourself, right? And so the key point that I'm trying to make is you have to reframe your beliefs, turn those challenges into things that are going to set you up. And when you start seeing it as a setup, God will show you something else. He'll start to shift and pivot your life. And so you'll go from victim mindset to a growth mindset. Now, I've given you two concepts: awareness and reframing your negative beliefs. The next and the third is you have to take action in the new mindset. You you have to have the right mindset in order to transform. It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen by you thinking about it. You need to do something. You have to do the thing. You have to do the hobby. You have to start the business. You have to date the girl. Whatever it is, you have to do. You have to take a step in that direction. Life doesn't reward the weak, but it does give everything to the person who feels like it deserves it. You have to be bold in this life. You have to assume that you can have it. One of the biggest shifts that's happened to me was in business. I had to move with the intentions of a business person. And so what is a business how does a business person move? Well, a business person has daily habits. So I had to start taking small daily habits in a direction of what I thought a business person would do or what a business would look like. I had the desire to be successful in business. So I had to start acting like a successful business person. I have no blueprint to this. No one does. Entrepreneurial work is just that. You're throwing stuff on the wall and you're hoping that it sticks until something does stick. There was no one directing my actions. There still isn't. But I did have to go out and had to seek. If I had an answer, I had to, or a question that I wanted to answer, I had to go seek out help. I had to read the book. I had to ask the question. I had to take action every day in the direction of where I wanted to go. And these little actions eventually started to change my perspective and my approach to life. Because I started to look back on, I said to myself, um, when I start treating this as part-time, I used to get part-time results. And now that I'm treating this as full-time, I'm starting to get full-time results. You see how this works? Like I felt like I wasn't going to get anywhere until I started to put 110%. I couldn't give 50%. I couldn't even give 100%. I had to give 110% of my effort to what I believe that I desire to be or I want to do. And I noticed over time as I start checking things off my list, because I was giving 110% effort into this, I noticed that the hard things that were hard in the beginning started to become a little bit easier. And as I started to knock things off that list, I would look back week after week or month after month, and I would say, damn, wow, look at what you accomplished. And really, this is how you sustain yourself, right, over time, because you're doing the internal work. You're not looking for the external validation. The internal validation is more. We can go into deeper conversations about that, but that dopamine feeling that you're getting because you're accomplishing your goal and the person that you're becoming, that becomes more of a good feeling than you expecting somebody to approve you. You don't need anybody to approve you because guess what? They won't anyway. Because most people are too busy and too concerned and self assumed consumed with trying to figure themselves out. So you're asking for external validation from people who don't even know what to do with themselves. The only validation that matters is not from the outside. The only validation that matters is coming from yourself. And when you start to do that, you start to develop small wins, and those small wins become big wins. Celebrate that. You do. You have to celebrate those big wins because that's what builds the confidence. And when you start to hold yourself accountable, you start to set the goal and you start to finally finish what you started. Now you start to build some momentum. Your mindset is the foundation of all of this. And becoming aware of your beliefs is going to be the pivot. It's going to be the shift. Reframing those negative thoughts, taking some intentional action and transforming your life in ways that you never thought was imagined is going to be pivotal for you. Now, if this message resonated with you, I want you to give me the thumbs up and I want you to share it. Share it to anybody that you feel like needs to hear it. And if you're ready to take your growth to the next level, I want you to check out my consulting program, the Drive Alive Method. I can help you succeed in both your personal and your professional life. The links are in the description. And if you want to take some other actionable steps, I do have an ebook. It's free. Go ahead and check it out. The link is in the description. I also have a beard care line. It's called Stoic. And if you like the beard, check out my beard care line. The link is also in the description. It's going to help you look and perform your best. Remember this. You have the power to shift your mindset. You have the power to heal. You have the power to grow. And you have the power to thrive. But you have to keep moving forward. You got this. I'll see you next time.